I think what's awesome about The Expanse is you have characters that are full of flaws, but you still fall in love with them.
I read the books of The Expanse, and I loved them. I really cared so much about who these characters were.
Once I picked up that book, I couldn't put it down. They were really exciting, compelling stories.
They're a combination of great characters and spectacular action.
Inspiring, gorgeous stuff.
I'm Daniel Abraham, and this is Ty Frank, and we are collectively James S. Corey, who wrote the novels that The Expanse TV series is based on.
When you have a team like James S. Corey, there's a lot of give and take. You know, you get stuck and you can pass it off, and then it comes back, and it suddenly has a whole new shape to it.
My job is to talk about what the universe is like, where the big story is going. Daniel then talks about how to turn that into a novel.
Ty has a 3-ring binder. And every time I asked him a question, he just knew the answer. It was all right at his fingertips.
Who stands to gain if Earth and Mars get into a throwdown?
James S. Corey actually has a different voice than either Ty or me. We wanted to put together a name that sounded like the crusty old science fiction author from the 70s who shows up at the book conventions and sits in the bar and drinks whiskey and talks about how much publishing has fallen apart in the last 30 years. He's kind of a jerk.
A while back, I worked for George R.R. Martin, so I got to see sort of the development of Game of Thrones from the very first scripts that were written all the way through the shooting the pilot.
The thing that really stuck with me is that you never bring your ego to it. The best idea always wins. People are coming into this with different ideas than we had in the books, but you know, if their idea is better, you got to go with it, right?
Part of what you have to understand about the writer's room is we had incredibly talented, experienced writers coming into this because they loved the project.
Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby really sort of share our vision of what this is supposed to look like.
Basically, our whole thing was, how do we not screw this up? How do we take these books and delve into this great, rich world?
We like to tell small personal stories about screwed up people fumbling their way to some kind of redemption. This book just reveled in that.
You're either some kind of genius, Mr. Holden, or you the luckiest dipshit in the solar system.
When we started putting together the writing room, people sort of looked at us like we had two heads and said, why are you guys putting the authors in the writing room? You never do that. It's going to be crazy. They're going to fight you on everything. They proved to be, first of all, amazing writers, but secondly, they're also great collaborators.
You know, we'll be talking about, we'd love to have a character that highlights some aspect of life and subculture on Sirius, and then Ty or Daniel will go, well, we have this whole story about these guys. They take shitty spacecraft out into the system and they just slingshot each other around. They're like X-gamers, and like, well, that's awesome. Suddenly that becomes like a little story in the middle of our story, and we've illuminated the world in a really beautiful way.
The title of the series, The Expanse, was not chosen at random. We were trying to find something that would convey the idea of a very large story.
We're telling something that is massive and epic and transformative, and we're telling it through the guys who are trying to get a cup of coffee while it's going on.
There's some kind of game being played here. Maybe someone wants a war.
What, we all know each other and we're all terrorists, right?
All you have to do to make it stop is talk.
Everything going on out there, it's all got to do with her.